Erik Peterson on Williston Trending Topics, News Radio Live.
Radio, Erik Peterson, Proven Realty EXP, in the studio to explain why in the heck, Erik, are home prices going up still with interest rates, what they're doing.
Yeah, good morning, Tom. It's great to be here as always, and it's really a crazy story. As we mentioned several times on this show, we really predicted interest rates to be down temporarily and they would jump right back up. That's exactly what happened, but despite that, people are sick of renting. Apartment rental prices are going through the roof. So as people are coming up on renewal, they want to have a nice, safe place for their family. So it's a serious game of musical chairs. House prices are up. It's a bidding war again in most cases. And if it's priced right and marketed right, we're getting a ton of eyes on it immediately and getting into those bidding wars that you do not see in the rest of the country.
Problem for prospective renters is they're looking for a 2-bedroom at $1,500 to $2,000 a month, and they get no benefit from that other than being able to live there for 30 days, right?
Yeah, exactly. The only benefit they get is paying somebody else's mortgage, obviously. And the other thing is, I did the apartment life for 5 years. It's just not a good place to be. It's way better quality sleep, better quality time with your family, and especially if you're out there working 80, 90, 100-hour weeks, people that are working way harder than I ever did, coming home and they need and deserve that sleep so dearly. To be able to not be able to get that in an apartment setting is really frustrating for most. And now they're starting to move their families back in. There's a lot of trends that are emerging in the housing market right now, and a lot of our buyers are bringing their families that are in a second home or location, moving them to Williston or Watford City, Dickinson for the first time.
I like talking to you on Tuesdays because you give us the why. We understand what's happening. What's happening is that the home prices are going up. We understand that the interest rates are going up as well. But why?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with inflation, obviously. If you've been seeing the news on the Federal Reserve front, inflation is only supposedly 5%. That's supposed to be celebrated. The Federal Reserve in their last meeting, however, said they're going to continue to raise interest rates to fight inflation, even with a weakening economy and a high likelihood that we're going to be in a third and fourth quarter recession. I've got news for you, we're already there. If you look around the rest of the country, if you travel like I do, I was just down in Cancun at an international mastermind for real estate to talk to people around the world. We think that it's bad here until you start going to other areas outside of North Dakota. The rest of the country and the world is imploding on itself in certain economic areas, and that's causing a lot of downward pressure on wages. But at the same point, inflation is so far out of control now because we being the government, have not supported oil drilling. You can look back in time when inflation really started taking back off, and now they're saying that those people in the low income that would love to have a home are now paying 40% of their monthly income in housing. That is absolutely ridiculous. The number should be about 20%, maximum of 30%. But because of inflation and the cost of goods are so high, people can't afford to live anymore. It's really sad.
Erik Peterson, Proven Realty EXP, with us every Tuesday morning in the 8 o'clock block. We talk real estate, specifically local real estate. You know, Erik, I don't need to go to Cancun to know that prices are going up. All I got to do is go down to Walt's Market or down to Albertsons and see that eggs are $8 a dozen.
Yeah, it's pretty wild and it's crazy, and we don't see that slowing down anytime soon. Obviously, inflation's going to be 5-6% a year, but it's the real inflation that's really hitting us the hardest. Again, thank goodness that we live in North Dakota. The wages are high, the job opportunities are great, and we're starting to get what we've needed so dearly, and that's workers back in the field. One of my really good friends, I coached him in basketball when he was a young kid. He's 21, his name's Asa. He works over at WellPro. He was telling me a year ago they had 150 workover rigs that they were servicing. They're now up to 200. So to have that big of a jump in a period of a year requires obviously bodies and labor, but it also requires people and businesses anticipating that they're going to be a big boom again. So we're never going to get back to the 250, 300 drill rigs back in 2011 and 12, but we don't need them. We just need consistency. We need to be the tortoise in the hare example when we're not going to fall asleep under the wheel as energy producers or under the tree, and that we're going to slowly but steadily get America energy independent again, and that's going to continue to drive wage growth and push house prices up. So those people that are considering buying a house, especially for the first time, and they're wondering, is now the right time? Yes, it absolutely is. Spring is in the air. There's really, really good solid inventory. And believe it or not, over this last weekend, we had 3 houses that pended over $500,000 in sales price. 3 houses over 500 grand. That tells you how hot it is right there.
You know, I was talking to a local businessman yesterday, and he brought up the point that we're in a different environment here in Williston than we've ever been before, because we know now, since we went in the kind of the bust period, that there's a underpinning foundation here in Williston. We don't have to be afraid that things are going to close down and the city's going to go away. We understand now that this foundation that's been built is going to stay no matter what happens with the oil industry. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. It's a lot more of a diverse economy now than it was 10 years ago. There's ag is obviously doing better. There's a lot of stuff going on in that Trenton area that is not related specifically to oil drilling. We've got some crypto mining in and some other really neat things going out in that industrial subdivision. But more importantly, these oil companies have more money sitting in the bank than ever before, and they're not relying on the banks that could potentially take their credit back. That's why banks are falling around the rest of the country. They were leveraged to the crypto and the tech type companies. But if you look at the United States oil companies, their stocks are strong. They've got a whole bunch of money in the bank in cash, and they don't need to rely on the financing and be pressured by these higher interest rates. So it's great news for consumers and especially employees of the oil field.
And when oil went down just a couple of years ago, everybody thought there was going to be this mass flight away from Williston. It ended up happening that the schools lost a few, but not very many kids. The people, the families stayed because we have the art. We have different things that amount to a real community here, not just a boom community. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot more to do. And speaking of which, before we joined the air today, we were talking about retail. That's normally in the rest of the country and in real estate cycles, the very, very last segment to pick up. It never happened last time when we had the big boom of 12, 13, 14. We didn't get a ton of new retail. We represent the leasing up in the Harvest office building. That's the one with Mega Latte up on the hill up by the new high school. We have 5 pending offers on that building right now. 5. We've also had 3 other groups touring. So that tells you that people are feeling better about the economy. They want to start new businesses, and they know that this is here for the long term, and that they feel very optimistic about the growth and the opportunities in the retail sector specifically. You take a look at the rest of the country, retail is closing like crazy. We just lost another giant retailer last week. These big office buildings are closing down as well, as nobody wants to go back to them. So to be a retailer in Williston, North Dakota, or even in the rest of the Bakken is pretty amazing times right now.
Let's look now at the situation as it relates to a home buyer. How should they be structuring their buy, considering interest rates the way they are, the way they may be in 60 days, 90 days, a year, 2 years? How do they structure it now as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, the first thing you need to do is get pre-approved. That will give you a competitive advantage. If you're not pre-approved, the sellers are not going to take your offer seriously. Get it from a local lender. They can loan in all situations. We've seen so many times where out-of-state lenders at the very last minute go dark on us. They ghost the buyer. All of a sudden, they can't underwrite it to get it to the finish line, and it's a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors. So stay local, get your pre-approval, find a house that you like, structure your offer aggressively to make sure that you get it, and with the idea that just lock into a rate that you can afford, knowing that when rates do come down, you're going to be able to refinance. Also looking at ARMs or 2-to-1 buy downs are also good scenarios as well. And make sure to ask for a seller paid closing credit if needed. That way you can get into a house that you may not have been able to otherwise.
Now, you say structure your deal aggressively, your offer aggressively. How do you do that? Do you automatically offer more than the asking price? What's up with that?
Yeah, so what we do whenever we're representing a buyer, we do a full comparative market analysis or CMA ourselves, just to make sure that the house is priced correctly. And in some cases, we're finding that it's way overpriced or way underpriced, so we want to come in with where the house should land. But not only can your client get the deal, but more importantly, can it appraise at that number? You don't want to come in at some crazy high number, even if you can afford it, if it's not going to appraise, because at the end of the day, you can't get a loan anyway. But then specifically lay out your offer as clean as possible. Do you need to have 30 days of an inspection period? Are you in a cash position where you can waive some of the appraisals and other risk to the seller? And then just make sure that you have that offer as clean as possible.
What do we look for in the next week?
Yeah, I think there's going to be really tight inventory. There hasn't been any really new stuff hitting lately. If you're a seller right now and you're considering selling, now is the time to get it on the market for maximum buys and maximum exposure. Make sure that you have a qualified professional that can help you market it effectively on all the channels. But I think there's going to continue to be a lot of buyers coming off of the sideline. They're seeing that interest rates are going up, and they're giving it one last ditch effort before they give up again.
To salespeople, listen to this show every morning. Sales tip of the day from Erik Peterson.
Yeah, Drew had a really good one today, just about being out there. Drew the car guy, about being out there and touching your vehicle 8 times. I thought that was really poignant. If you're a salesperson that's a real estate agent, be yourself, show true value, and get people into houses. Get them feeling the house, touching the house, walking through that, and envisioning their family in there. I thought that was brilliant advice, and we'll be certainly training our team on it.
All right, great to talk with you. Good stuff this morning. Can't wait till next week.
Should be fun. Thank you.
Erik Peterson, Proven Realty EXP, with us every Tuesday morning in the 8 o'clock block. We'll see you soon. Stand by.